How are you?
Good to see you. What's up, everybody? Take another sip here. Hold on.
What do you got there, Dana?
Energy drink.
Science, the best energy drink on the planet.
Hey, so Dana, Anderson seems really annoyed with our questions about the first fight.
You guys are pretty annoying.
But it seems like he's on edge. You know, is that good or bad?
I don't know what it means. You know, Anderson is. You know, when have you had a normal interview with Anderson? You know what I mean? All this stuff annoys him. You know, I'm sure he's not thrilled that we have to do 7 cities in 7 days, and I'm sure he had other things to do, but this is part of the deal. Here's the one thing: no matter what he said, no matter how he feels, no matter what he acts like, this fight is going to be insane. This fight is going to be unbelievable. I was just saying earlier, talk about our year, you know, sorry if I'm turning my back to you guys. If you talk about the rest of the year that we have and the great fights, this fight just happened on Saturday, right? And anybody who was there live knows what it felt like to be in that arena that night. It was insane when those two walked out and when they started fighting. Can you imagine when the music starts playing and these two are walking out in December? It's going to be unbelievable. Weidman wants to prove that it wasn't a fluke, and Anderson wants to prove that it was. It's going to be a fun fight. This isn't one of those fights where you're going to see two guys. I mean, even Chris Weidman, you know, you would think for him to come out and grapple would be the best idea. He took him down. They were on the ground for a while. They got back up, and Chris stood with him. Even going into the second round, he didn't try to take him down. They stood. It's just this fight. I think it's going to be the biggest fight we've ever done, and I think the energy, whether you're there live or on television, is going to be nuts.
Dana, about how long was it before, I mean, I guess after the first fight that Anderson agreed to the rematch? Because after he wasn't really...
It was that next week. So he fought on Saturday, and then he was going on vacation. So I flew down to Los Angeles and met with him. And we had the deal done, I think, before Friday.
You get the women sharing the bill on this, what could be one of the biggest cards ever.
Yeah.
Give us your thoughts on that.
Yeah, well, the rest of the season, you know, what are we in, three episodes? It's a great season. And, you know, yeah, people are going to be excited about that fight, too. Another great rivalry with differences, these two hate each other. A lot of smack was talked, more is being talked as we lead up to the fight now. And yeah, I expect that one to be fun. The first Ronda Rousey-H.E.A.T fight was a great fight. That's a fight that got me and sold me.
Did you watch the Jones-Gustafsson fight again?
I did.
What'd you think?
I gave it to Jones.
You gave it to Jones?
Yeah, I had Jones win the fight.
Which rounds?
I gave Jones I think the second round was tough. I couldn't remember the second. He definitely won the last 2 rounds. Ratner had it even going into the 5th round and gave the 5th round to Jones. And I gave him, I'm having a rough day today. I'm trying to remember what rounds I gave him. But I had him winning the fight. Like, no doubt about it, like, no controversy whatsoever.
Dana, this rematch came together pretty quickly. How quick could we see Gustafson and Jones come together? They both just seem to make sense.
It does and it doesn't, in the fact that they're both young guys. Jones won the fight. I mean, Jones won the fight. The judges made the right decision. It was a great fight. It was a close fight. It was a war. You know, but the champion won. So, you know, maybe Glover fights next, and we don't know. But I'm getting together with Lorenzo on Wednesday, and we're gonna talk about it, see what we want to do.
What do you think about maybe having Gustafson fight Phil Davis or Daniel Cormier then as a number 1?
Either. You know, so we'll see what happens. Cormier's got to fight Big Country first. That fight's got to happen. Then can Cormier make light heavy? Will he make light heavy? Will he go down? I mean, there's still too many questions. That fight's got to happen first.
Lately, Cormier has been insisting that Roy cuts his beard before the fight.
I don't blame him. I wouldn't want that nasty thing rubbing on my face either during the fight. I hate that whole, you can grow a beard down to here and still fight in MMA. You know, it's not even allowed in boxing. And they don't go to the ground and have side control and you know, who would want that thing laying on their face? Seriously.
Talking about Roy Nelson in general?
That long, nasty, ratty looking thing in your mouth, rubbing on your face. It's ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous. They shouldn't be allowed to have beards that big. If you want a beard, trim that thing down and make it look normal. You know? Disgusting.
Any news on the buy rate for the fight on Saturday?
There is. Yeah.
Good? Or
Yeah, it
what
did
would
good.
you-
It did what we expected it to do. You know, we going into this fight, you know, we were coming out of the Mayweather-Canelo vacuum. You know what I mean? So when you do a fight like this, and we knew where we were landing, so we could either go before the fight, before Canelo Mayweather, or go after it. And we chose to go after it because if you go before, you're going to lose all the cross-channel promotion in media and things like that. So we went after and we did what we expected to do.
Can you release a number yet, or it's still?
We don't ever release numbers. We never do. You know, when you hear a number, it's somebody out there saying that that's the number, but we never really release numbers.
And from what you touched on too, do you feel that it affected it at all, the Mayweather-Canelo fight?
There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
You know,
Negatively or positively?
You had negatively. You got 2.2 million people spending $75 on pay-per-view, and then we come a week later. Hey, spend another 50-something on ours. You know, like yeah, we'll read about it. We'll read about it tomorrow. Good luck.
Dana, congrats on this new game with EA Sports. I'm very curious, what was it like making that deal with them after the way things went with them in the past? Was it weird because they kind of went into business for themselves and they tried to do it themselves, and I think they were a little arrogant about it, and that project failed. I'm happy to see they're doing a UFC game now. I'm just curious how that went.
I agree with you 100%, and I like the fact that they came out and said, we messed up, we should have been with you guys, and we want to be with you guys. And they were very aggressive in getting the UFC video game, and we have a really good relationship with those guys, and I'm glad it all worked out. Excited about it.
What did you make of Al Heyman saying that he wants to start managing MMA fighters?
Cool. Everybody always will ask me questions like, what do you think about a fighters union? And I see people tweet and stuff, ooh, Dana'd be shaking in his boots about a fighters union, or if this guy's gonna come on, or what if this guy came in? I've been here for 13 years, man, and I've seen every manager, would-be promoter, whatever it is, come and go. And I'm not knocking anybody, I'm just saying, at the end of the day, when somebody's contract is up, we negotiate with somebody. Doesn't matter who it is, you know, we're going to negotiate with somebody. That's never going to change. It's always going to be that way. Contracts end, and you go into negotiations with whoever it is that's handling their deal. So, and for a guy, you know, guys like Floyd and his whole team over there to be saying they're interested in managing fighters and getting involved in MMA, I don't see how that's a bad thing. It's a good thing. It's a positive thing.
Have you spoken to him at all, or do you plan on speaking to him about that?
I haven't. No, I mean, what would we talk about? He's either going to get some fighters, and I'm sure we'll talk then when he does, or he won't. You know, me and Floyd go way back. You know, we've known each other for a long time, since the early 90s, mid 90s. And, you know.
Could we ever see you dabble back in there again? I know your schedule's hectic, but...
Dabble in
boxing, maybe
boxing?
managing boxers again?
We've had things come to us, deals that we could have done, all kinds of different deals, from, you know, promoting a boxing fight to handling the pay-per-view to handling Charlie Sheen's pay-per-view. I mean, tons of crazy things have come our way. And the one thing that we always do is we focus on what it is we do in fights. I lost my fucking mind there for a minute and started doing, you know, a TV show, not MMA related and stuff, and this is what we do. This is what we're good at. This is what we do, and this is it.
Dana,
TV show, what's that?
A shitty one. Didn't work out. Didn't work out.
Dana, how different do you expect the rematch with Weidman and Silva to be? And do you think Silva is going to take a completely different approach to this match?
How big do I think it's going to be? I think
How different?
how different than the first one?
Like how you think it will go? And do you think Silva will have a completely different?
I think that's what's fun about that. I have no idea how this is going to go. You know, do I think Silva's going to come out and fight like he did last time? I do not. He might. I mean, who knows with him? He's a talented freak of nature that can pull off a lot of things. And I mean, I think that's part of the intrigue of this fight, is seeing what he's going to do, how he's going to come out and fight this time. How's Weidman going to respond to, I don't know, it's awesome, man. I love this fight. You know, I'm a promoter, I'm sitting up here telling the fight, I get it or whatever, but I'm telling you right now, I don't know if I've ever been this excited for a fight. Ever been this excited for a fight. This is a fight, like, I was out last night in LA, everywhere I went last night, people wanted to talk to me about Jon Jones, Gustafsson fight. The Anderson Silva Chris Weidman fight, people were buzzing a month after this fight was over. People were still talking about it. And as it gets closer and closer in the fight, you know, is right there and it's about to happen, people are going to be losing their minds. And I'm going to be one of them. I can't wait.
Anderson doesn't seem to be a fan of super fights, and I know everybody wants to see that. So when you've talked to him about
Anderson's not a fan of much. You know what I mean?
He's a fan of you.
He's talking about the wrong Jones. Okay.
Yeah, he's talking about Roy Jones.
He's talking about the wrong Jones. Okay. His name is Jon Jones.
So you know, how hard is that to bring it up with him when you're conversating about that?
I will. This fight's got to happen first.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens in this fight, and then we'll go from there.
I
See
imagine
which Jones
it's
we'll
like
be talking
you
about.
chipping at a wall, like gradually over time. You feel like eventually the wall will break and he'll.
Well, here's the thing about Anderson. You got to understand too. The guy has been around forever. Broke every record. Was #1 pound for pound for years. Was considered one of the greatest of all time, if not the greatest of all time. And the guy is I say it all the time, he's an artist. It's like dealing with an artist. I don't want to do that, boss. I want to do this, and we always end up figuring it out. We have to do what we have to do to put on fights and run the business. But at the same time, I want to make him happy. That's why Roy Jones was at that fight. I'm friends with Roy. I've known Roy for a long time too, so why don't you come on in and hang out this weekend, we'll watch the fight. And what was cool too is I'm glad that Roy Jones came and all the people that were there that night, just like the night in Toronto. Like, when you get these people that are such huge fight fans, like I told you guys before, after that first round, Roy Jones ran over me and said, "This fight's over. He's in his head. And fucking everybody was going crazy, like crazy. And the same thing in Toronto. Who's in Toronto? Right. I mean, at the end of every round, there was a standing ovation, and people stood till they started fighting again. And like Lawrence Fishburne and Deadmau5 and these guys from the Toronto Raptors, everybody was screaming and high-fiving and going crazy. It's just that energy at a fight. It's so fun. So anyway, that's my long-winded story saying I'm glad Roy Jones came to the fight. But it's.
So why not recreate that and do an immediate rematch?
Yeah, I mean, immediate rematch.
Gustafsson Jones.
Those guys are gonna fight. We'll see. Maybe we will do an immediate rematch. I don't know. We're gonna figure that out on Wednesday. But
how's Jon doing? He went to the hospital to get checked out.
I talked to him yesterday. He's good. He's home.
Okay?
His foot's okay. Yeah, there was some talk about him having a hairline fracture in his foot. Dr. Malky said that. Apparently.
Winkle John said he shattered it.
Yeah.
Yeah, on Twitter.
That's not true. That probably came from Dr. Malky also. Spoke to Dr. Malky on Sunday, who said that he had a fracture in his foot. But we talked to all the doctors, and they said that wasn't true. But I don't know.
What did he tell you?
I talked to Jon last night, and he was fine. I mean, he's feeling like he was in a 5-round war. But he, the thing that I love about Jones right now is this evolution, him becoming this champion that he's becoming. Like, when I talked to him last night, normally I don't care who you are, if you're in a war, like those guys were in a war on Saturday night, it's like, fucking leave me alone for a couple weeks. I don't even want to hear the word fight. And I talked to Jones last night, and he was just like, I love that fight. He said, I love that fight. He said, I learned so much in that fight last night. And he couldn't say enough good things about the fight and how fun it was and how much, it's not what I expected to hear the day after the fight. And he just flew home, and you know what I mean? His baby was screaming for like 10 minutes. He's like, "Can I call you back?" I said, "Just do your thing, man. Do your thing." It's cool to hear. I'm really happy with where he's at.
Can you talk about round 4 of that fight, which I think was round of the year by far? Because just as a fan watching,
I'm trying to remember all these things. So that was around.
If he would have lost that round, the fight
Jones was getting beat, and then he landed that big elbow, right? Hurt him with the elbow, then started throwing the knees and
last minute, yeah.
It's again, the reason that everybody's talking about this fight and we keep talking about this fight is because when you see two guys in there with that determination and the gut and the will to win the way that they both did. Jones is getting his ass whooped the whole fourth round, then hurts Gustafsson with that elbow and is doing everything he can to try to put him away, and Gustafsson isn't going down. I mean, the elbows that he ate that night were just unbelievable. Then Jon grabs him and starts kneeing him, and it's just unbelievable, man. Both guys put on the performance of a lifetime. And there's no doubt about it. I mean, I was talking to a couple of media guys who were talking about fights of the year, and obviously Anderson, Silva, and Stan is one of those too, but I just think this fight this fight blows everything away this year. I mean, if there's a better fight than that this year, holy shit. Wow.
There was talk if this is the best championship fight ever. Anderson Silva, Chael Sonnen comes to mind. Any others in your mind?
Yeah, that was a great fight too, but it was like that Anderson Silva Chael Sonnen fight, the first one was very one-sided. It was a one-sided ass whooping until Anderson pulls off that submission, which made the finish unbelievable, like one of the greatest finishes in the sport, you know, because of what was on the line and what had happened the previous 4.5 rounds until he got submitted. But this is one of those fights where, you know, it was just back and forth and an absolute dogfight, and both guys, you could tell. And like I said that night at the press conference, you know, not like any of us here could really understand, but I think that's one of those fights when you hear a fighter talking about they felt like they were going to die if they went back out into that 5th round. Like, you feel like, I can't do this, but you do, you know? And the doctor's trying to stop the fight on the cut over in Jones' corner, and Jones is telling him, do not stop this fight, do not stop this fight. You know, it's just fucking
And there's
awesome,
words
man.
McCarthy was in there saying that as well.
Yeah, McCarthy came in and was trying to make the case for not stopping the fight.
What do you think about a ref doing that?
But I mean, it should be a decision that, you know, you're talking about, and the Toronto Commission that night did a fantastic job. Fantastic job. Everybody did a great job. But it's like, this doctor hasn't been in as many world-class fights and big fights as like a McCarthy and a Ratner and guys like this to do it. And you know, he looks at that cut and he's like, oh man, but that cut's been there since the 1st round. It's not like this cut just happened at the end of the 4th round and now I'm looking at it and saying I should stop the fight. That cut's been there since the 1st round. It's a cut that can be stitched. It hasn't been affecting the fight at all for Jones, even when it was bleeding like crazy in the 1st round. And to take that opportunity away from him in the 5th, when he had just won the end of that round, he just won the end of the round, looked like he was about to stop him, and now you're going to stop the fight in the 5th round and not give him the opportunity? Could you imagine that, if that's what happened, if a doctor went in and stopped that fight?
It would have been a riot.
Oh my God, it would have been crazy. It's just, so so when you say, how do you feel about a ref? Obviously I'm a little biased, but I think it's a great thing. That night.
How does that?
The Santos Velasquez fight lives up and beats this one for fight of the year.
You know, it has the potential. It could, you know. But if you look at the Kane and JDS fights, one-sided. The first one comes in and knocks him out in a minute. So we had 1 minute of fighting and 59 minutes of talking on our first Fox fight. Then the rematch, nobody saw that coming. Cain Velasquez just absolutely put a beating on him for the entire fight. And man, how tough is Junior Dos Santos? So who the hell knows what can happen with this fight? I don't know.
What do you expect for the 3rd one?
I honestly have no clue. It could be a knockdown, drag 'em out war. It could be somebody gets knocked out quick. It could be, I mean, that fight has the potential for anything to happen.
Brazilians went down. Silva lost his title. Junior Dos Santos lost his title. What's better for the UFC? Brazilians regaining their titles, or Weidman and Cain continuing?
People always ask me that question. The best thing for the UFC is that there's a good fight. That's all I care about. Whoever wins, wins. Whoever the better man is that night is going to win the fight. You know, believe me, and I'll be honest with you, a long time ago, a long time ago, I used to go, ooh, we need this guy to win. If this guy wins, this could happen, that could happen. I quit doing that shit a long time ago, believe me, because it never works out the way you think it's gonna. And whoever wins, wins, and I just want great fights. That's all I care about.
When are you coming back out to Southern Cal? Do you have a firm date when you guys are going to be out here?
We do. Off the top of my head, I couldn't give it to you. I don't know, but I'll get that information for you.
Is that Honda Center or Staples?
I don't know. I'll get you guys that information.
How does Saturday's fight compare to Hendo Shogun for you?
That was another great fight. I mean,
Yeah.
it was that's one of the greatest fights I've ever seen too. You know, two guys with just absolute heart and determination. Both guys are getting rocked. Almost one guy's out, and then the next guy's almost out. And for Shogun to overcome that first round is unbelievable. That was like some Frankie Edgar shit.
Dana, recently we saw the end of Anderson Silva's incredible run, which will be very hard to surpass. But now we're seeing Jon Jones had a history-making run on Saturday. Now that he's beaten Ortiz's record, and he's done it beating like 5 former light heavyweight champions. Do you think he has it in him to maybe surpass or equal Silva's record?
Yeah, I mean, the kid's so young and so talented. He has the potential to, God knows how long, go on a run. I mean, he could easily, at his age, break that record. And quick, too. Think about Jon Jones, who he fought to break that record. Not only to gain the title, but to defend it. The guys he fought. I call it murderer's row of the light heavyweight division he went through, and continues to.
Do you remember the first time you met Anderson, maybe before the Lieben fight or discussing the contract negotiations? Like, how different was he then to now?
I don't think he's that much different.
Or same?
I don't think he's that different. He's always been the same type of guy, you know? Just a lot richer now.
Mr. White, BJ Penn's getting his second UFC branded UFC gym on Oahu. Who's the next UFC fighter who's going to get their own branded UFC gym?
I don't know. It obviously always depends on what market we go into. You know, I know GSP is probably going to get one. We'll see.
You know, Anderson Silva, when we had him here, he was asking for one. He said he had to get with you.
Anderson was?
Yes.
Yeah. He'll probably end up with one too. Yeah.
Guys, 2 more questions, then we have to get into another interview.
Dana, I've been wanting to ask you this. What did you think about the Mayweather fight?
The Mayweather fight, I thought that it was a flawless promotion. I thought they did a fantastic job. The only blemish that entire weekend was the Nevada State Athletic Commission. And then, you know, I know a lot of people were bitching about the fight, but that's what Floyd does. And for Floyd to be able to do it at his age, and the way that he did it, and then after the fight's over, of course, everybody starts going, yeah, that's exactly what we knew was going to. You didn't know that was going to happen, and you wouldn't have paid $75 to see it, or $2,000 a ticket, or however you saw the fight. But it was a good fight. It was the promotion for it was fantastic. I went to the weigh-ins. They did a great job at the weigh-ins. They did a great job. You know,
crazy.
And it isn't easy for me to compliment Showtime. Okay, so you know if I'm saying it, I mean it.
And lastly, can you say something on Ken Norton passing?
Yeah, it's always sad when you know, when these guys that you used to watch and respect and love pass away. So yeah, I tweeted about it when he passed away, and it sucks. I mean, I don't know what else to say other than
Okay, guys,
it
thank you.
sucks. Did you have a question? Somebody asked you.
I was wondering, 2012, you guys seem so snake bit with all the injuries and everything.
Yeah.
What's it like to, you guys now you seem to be on the other side of the fence.
Thank
So
God.
many great fights, so
Yeah.
many great cards. What's it feel like now?
You know what? I'm actually glad that happened. As weird as that sounds, because I would have never thought it was possible. I would have never. If somebody would have told me the year before that it was even possible for that to happen, I would have said, "You're crazy. There's no way that's even possible." So I'm very aware of what the possibilities are now and what can happen to you in a year. And obviously, it's very good to have it behind us. That was the worst year we ever had. Yeah.
Now you guys are flying.
Yeah.
Amazing cards, amazing
Knock
fights.
on wood, man.
Yeah.
Hopefully, you know, as long as everybody stays healthy, the rest of the year is going to be awesome.
Yeah. All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Oh, H.E.A.T. I met with H.E.A.T. and he told me that you guys had spoken about him fighting in the UFC.
Fighting in the
He
UFC?
said he wants an MMA fight and that he spoke to you and that you're like, yeah, dude.
Well, he's another one. H.E.A.T. is another guy that I go way back with.
Yeah.
Back in,
He told me that,
I go
yeah.
back to the early 90s with H.E.A.T. And I don't know. I mean, if H.E.A.T. I don't remember talking about him fighting in the UFC. Maybe I misunderstood what he said.
Hey, he told me he wants to fight. Like, he wants an MMA fight. He wants to try it.
I don't even know. Can he wrestle?
He said he learned. Well, no, he did say the wrestling that because he's trained, because he went to high school with Greg.
Right.
And stuff like that.
So
he
he
trained with them and stuff like that as well. So.
Well, we'll see. I love H.E.A.T. H.E.A.T is really close with H.E.A.T. I mean, me and his family, and you know, from the early days back in boxing, we came up together. So, yeah, I love the kid.
Thanks, Dan.
All right, buddy.